It's absolute chaos in Cleveland right now, and trust me, this isn't your average mid-season drama. Reports are flying, insiders are whispering, and fans can't believe what they're hearing. Kevin Stefanski, the man once hailed as the savior of the Browns, could be out fired before the end of the week. And if that wasn't enough to shake the dog pound, whispers are swirling that Shedeur Sanders, the rising star quarterback who is supposed to bring new life to this franchise, is being deliberately held back. In Cleveland, people close to the team are describing it as a power struggle of epic proportions, egos clashing, locker room divided, tempers boiling over. And just when you think it couldn't get messier, here comes the bombshell. Nick Chubb, the heart and soul of this team, could be packing his bags for Kansas City. You heard that right? The Chiefs, Mahomes, Reed, Super Bowl City. This isn't just football anymore, it's betrayal. It's politics and pride colliding behind closed doors. The question everyone's asking, who's pulling the strings in Cleveland and who's going down first? Stay tuned because this storm is just getting started. The drama started on a gray Monday morning in Cleveland, the kind of morning where the sky feels like it's pressing down on the city. The Browns facility was unusually tense. Players walked through the halls in silence, their sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Rumors had started to leak over the weekend. Whispers that head coach Kevin Stefanski's relationship with the front office had completely broken down. Some players said he hadn't spoken to general manager Andrew Berry in days. Others claimed he had stormed out of a meeting after a shouting match over quarterback Shedeur Sanders' playing time. Whatever the truth was, the atmosphere was toxic. Inside the locker room, Shedeur sat alone, earbuds in, staring at the ground. He had been promised an opportunity to shine, to take the reins of an NFL offense and prove he belonged among the league's elite. But week after week, Stefanski kept him on a leash. Short throws, safe reads, no freedom to improvise. And for a quarterback raised by Deion Sanders, the man who built his legacy on swagger and confidence, that kind of control felt like a cage. A source close to the team described it bluntly. Shedeur's not playing Stefanski's kind of football. And Stefanski's not willing to let go of the reins. It's a cold war in that building. By Tuesday, social media had caught fire. Fans flooded Twitter, demanding answers. Some sided with Stefanski, claiming that rookies need discipline. Others accused him of sabotaging the young quarterback out of ego. One viral tweet read, "Stefanski's scared. He knows Shedeur's the future, and that future doesn't include him." Nick Chubb, recovering from his devastating knee injury, tried to stay out of the chaos. But even he could feel the tension. During a quiet team meeting, he watched the exchanges between Stefanski and Shedeur tense, clipped, each word laced with unspoken frustration. "We just need to play football," Chubb muttered to a teammate. "This drama's gonna eat us alive." But the drama was only beginning. By Wednesday morning, a local reporter broke what he called a major internal rift. His source claimed that Stefanski had been called into a closed-door meeting with ownership and that his job was on the line. According to the report, Stefanski walked out of that meeting furious, slamming the door so hard that staffers in the hallway jumped. Moments later, he was seen driving out of the parking lot at high speed. Ignoring calls from assistants, fans outside the facility started to gather, some with signs reading "Free Shedeur" and others shouting "Keep Stefanski." One video went viral of a fan yelling, "This isn't just a team anymore, it's a soap opera." And honestly, he wasn't wrong. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, another bombshell was brewing. Chiefs insiders began hinting that Kansas City was exploring trade options at running back. They weren't satisfied with their current depth, and the name floating around was Nick Chubb. At first, it sounded impossible. Chubb was the Browns' identity, their anchor, their heartbeat. But when someone from Chubb's camp refused to deny the rumors, people started to believe. Look, one insider said on a late-night sports talk show, "Chubb loves Cleveland, but he's tired of the dysfunction. He's watching this organization implode. And he doesn't want to waste the final prime years of his career cleaning up a mess someone else made." As the city buzzed with speculation, Stefanski stayed silent. The Browns canceled media availability that day, citing team focus. But silence only fueled the fire. Sports talk shows replayed clips of Stefanski's old press conferences, searching for signs of frustration. One commentator pointed out, "Look at his body language, he's been checked out for weeks." Another responded, "Yeah, but he's a smart guy. Maybe he's already planning his next move." And that's when the next twist hit. Late Thursday night, anonymous source claimed that Deion Sanders himself had called the Browns front office. Apparently, Coach Prime was furious. He felt the organization wasn't protecting his son, wasn't giving him the tools to succeed. Shedeur isn't being held back by the game. The source quoted Deion as saying, "He's being held back by people who don't believe in him." That call, if true, sent shockwaves through the league. Some executives viewed it as a father defending his son. Others saw it as interference that crossed a line. Inside the team facility, it was chaos. Assistants whispered about losing control. Veterans were split down the middle. Some backed Stefanski, saying he brought structure and stability. Others believed it was time for fresh leadership. And right in the middle stood Shedeur Young, talented. And now the unwitting symbol of a civil war tearing the team apart. During Friday's practice, the tension boiled over. One eyewitness described the scene. Stefanski barked at Shedeur after a misread on a play, and Shedeur fired back. He said something like, "If you'd let me play my game, that wouldn't happen." The entire field went silent. Chubb, watching from the sidelines, shook his head. "This is bad," he whispered to a teammate. "Real bad." After practice, Stefanski was supposed to meet with reporters. Instead, an assistant coach stepped in and said the head coach had other obligations. By then, it was clear to everyone something was breaking. Over the weekend, local journalists began connecting dots. One pointed out that Stefanski's contract had an early termination clause tied to performance metrics. Another hinted that the Browns' ownership had already reached out to potential replacements. Names like Eric Bieniemy, Jim Harbaugh, and even Urban Meyer were thrown into the mix. Fans couldn't believe it. "We're already talking replacements." One fan posted on Reddit, "This team loves drama more than football." Saturday morning brought another shocker. Shedeur's camp leaked that he might request a trade if things didn't improve. The statement was subtle but deliberate. It read, "Shedeur is committed to success, but he needs to be in an environment that believes in his abilities and leadership." Social media exploded. Fans argued, analysts debated, and the Cleveland sports radio lines were flooded with callers. One fan shouted, "You can't let this kid go. He's our future." Another replied, "Then fire the coach already." As the Browns prepared for their Sunday matchup, the energy around the team felt poisonous. Insiders described players whispering in corners, veterans questioning leadership, and assistants preparing for the worst. One staff member said, "This isn't football anymore, it's politics, and everyone's choosing sides." When game day arrived, the stadium felt different. There was tension in the air, like everyone knew they were watching something bigger than a football game. Shedeur started strong, hitting 2 quick passes that drew cheers from the crowd. But on the third drive, Stefanski called a conservative run play on 3rd and long, and the boos echoed across the stands. Cameras caught Shedeur shaking his head in frustration midway through the 3rd quarter. With the Browns trailing, Stefanski pulled Shedeur for the veteran backup. Fans erupted in disbelief. Social media went nuclear. Stefanski just benched the future of the franchise, one analyst tweeted, and possibly ended his own career in the process. When the game ended in another loss, reporters crowded the tunnel waiting for answers. Stefanski brushed past them, refusing to speak. Shedeur walked out separately, wearing a hood and avoiding eye contact. Nick Chubb, still sidelined, didn't even stay till the end. He was seen leaving the stadium early, face grim, phone pressed to his ear. And that's when the whispers started again, this time, louder than ever. Some said Chubb had spoken directly with the Chiefs. Others said the Browns front office was exploring all possibilities in the wake of the meltdown by Sunday night. One thing was clear, The Browns weren't just losing games, they were losing each other. The question now wasn't if something would break, but who would break first. And as the city of Cleveland braced for Monday morning, no one was ready for what would come next. Monday morning came with a chill that felt heavier than the weather report. The Browns facility looked calm from the outside, but inside it was anything but. Executives had called an emergency meeting at sunrise. Players were told to stay home, assistants were told to stand by, and Stefanski was nowhere to be found. The whispers were back, louder, sharper, and this time they had an edge of finality. One staffer said quietly, "It feels like the end of something." By mid-morning, the leak started. AN insider close to ownership told a local radio host that the meeting was about Stefanski's future, and that the team was seriously considering moving in a new direction. Fans listening in their cars started honking in disbelief. Firing Stefanski mid-season. The host shouted, "That's insanity." But others argued it was necessary, that the team had lost its heart, that the players had tuned him out at the same time. Shedeur Sanders was in his apartment scrolling through social media in silence. The hashtag free SheDEWAR was trending nationwide. Clips of him arguing with Stefanski had gone viral, dissected by analysts, meme accounts, and fans who all had their own theories. His phone buzzed, constantly friends, former teammates, even NFL legends texting him with advice. One message stood out from his father: "Stay calm, stay ready. Truth always finds the light." Those words hit him hard, because deep down, Shedeur knew the truth. He wasn't being developed, he was being controlled. Stefanski's system was designed for quarterbacks who followed every line in the playbook. But Shedeur played with instinct, rhythm, and swagger. He didn't fit into the box Stefanski built. And now, with his reputation on the line, the coach wasn't budging. Meanwhile, Kansas City, a different conversation was happening. Chiefs general manager Brett Veach and head coach Andy Reid were quietly discussing their running back situation. Isaiah Pacheco was solid, but they needed a true powerhouse for a Super Bowl push. And when word reached them that Nick Chubb might be unhappy, their ears perked up. "You think Cleveland would really let him go?" Reid asked with a smirk. "Depends how desperate they are," Veach replied. And right now, desperation is exactly what they're drowning in. Back in Cleveland, ownership wanted answers. The meeting between the owners, the general manager, and Stefanski stretched for hours. Voices were raised, papers slammed. One person present said the moment things exploded was when Stefanski snapped. "You brought me here to build something stable, and now you're undermining everything." The owner shot back, "Stable? Kevin, the locker room's in flames. The fans have turned, the players have turned. This isn't stability. This is chaos." Silence filled the room. Stefanski's jaw tightened. "If you think this mess is on me," he said coldly, "then maybe you need a new coach." And with that, he stood up, grabbed his jacket, and walked out. Within an hour, the story broke. Sources: Kevin Stefanski's job in jeopardy after heated meeting with Browns ownership. The tweet spread like wildfire. Fans began showing up outside the facility again, shouting, waving signs, chanting, "Fire him or save him," depending on which side they were on. It felt like the entire city had been split in half. As the chaos unfolded, Shedeur was asked to attend a private player meeting. He arrived expecting a few teammates, but to his surprise, nearly half the roster was there. The atmosphere was tense. Myles Garrett, the defensive leader, stood up first. "We need to talk about what's happening here," he said. "This isn't normal. We can't keep fighting each other." Shedeur looked around, unsure whether to speak. Then Darius Slayton, one of the receivers, spoke up. "Coach doesn't believe in you, man. It's obvious. We all see it. We're wasting time." Those words hung in the air. Shedeur exhaled slowly. "I'm trying to play my game," he said quietly, "but it's like every time I try, someone's pulling me back." His voice cracked slightly. "I didn't come here to sit in someone else's shadow." The room stayed silent. Even Garrett, usually the team's calm anchor, nodded in understanding. "We just need clarity," he said. "Either we're moving forward together or we're watching this thing collapse." A few hours later, the collapse began. Local news stations started running a breaking ticker. Browns fire Kevin Stefanski. No press release. No comment from the team, just a single leak that spread faster than wildfire. Within minutes, reporters confirmed it. Stefanski was out. The man who led the Browns to their first playoff win in nearly 2 decades had been fired mid-season. The sports world erupted. Analysts on every network debated the move. "It's reckless," one said. "It's overdue," another countered. Social media was pure chaos. One fan tweeted, "I can't believe they actually did it." Cleveland's addicted to drama. Inside the facility, players were called in for a quick meeting. Andrew Berry stood at the front, his expression unreadable. "We've made a difficult decision," he said. "Kevin Stefanski is no longer with the team. We'll be naming an interim head coach soon. Our focus now is unity." The room buzzed with disbelief. Some players looked relieved. Others were furious. Shedeur sat still, staring at the floor, processing what it meant. Part of him felt vindicated. His biggest obstacle was gone. But another part felt the weight of what came next. Later that night, Stefanski was spotted leaving the facility one last time. A few reporters tried to get a comment, but he ignored them, his face pale and unreadable. When asked if he felt betrayed, he muttered, "You can't be betrayed if you saw it coming." But Cleveland wasn't done unraveling. While fans were still reacting to the coaching bombshell, another leak surfaced, one that sent the entire NFL into a frenzy. Chiefs and Browns discussing trade for Nick Chubb. The tweet came from a verified insider with a perfect record for accuracy. The timing was surreal. Within hours of losing their head coach, the Browns were apparently considering trading their franchise running back. The reaction was immediate and explosive. "They're burning the whole house down," one fan wrote. Another posted a photo of Chubb's jersey on fire with the caption, "If he goes, we all go." Sports networks cut into regular programming to discuss the rumor. One analyst shouted, "This is insanity. CHUBB is Cleveland football." Nick Chubb himself stayed silent, but his agent didn't. In a cryptic tweet, he wrote, "Sometimes loyalty deserves loyalty." That one line sent fans spiraling into speculation. Was he saying Chubb wanted to stay, or that he felt betrayed? As midnight approached, a video surfaced that turned everything upside down. It was recorded outside a downtown Cleveland restaurant. Stefanski was seen talking with a man wearing a Chiefs cap. The video was grainy, the audio muffled, but people swore they heard Stefanski say they'll trade him. Just wait. The internet exploded. Was Stefanski leaking inside info to Kansas City? Was he trying to sabotage his former team on his way out? Or was the whole thing just a coincidence? No one knew. But by the next morning, the story had taken on a life of its own. Talk shows debated it nonstop. Conspiracy threads popped up online. Fans accused Stefanski of selling out Cleveland. One host on a national network declared, "This isn't just a football story anymore. This is betrayal on a scale we've never seen." And as the Browns scrambled to control the narrative, Shedeur Sanders found himself thrust into a new role, the face of the franchise. Cameras followed his every move, every word. When reporters asked how he felt about the chaos, he paused before saying quietly, "Cleveland deserves peace. I just hope we can find it." But peace was the last thing coming, because the Chiefs had just made their move. The news hit like a thunderclap across the league. Kansas City had officially made an offer for Nick Chubb. Insiders said the deal included 2 high draft picks and a promising young running back. It was the kind of trade that could reshape both franchises, but the emotional fallout in Cleveland was immediate. Fans flooded social media, begging the Browns to reject it. "Chubb is Cleveland," one post read. "You can't trade your soul." Others argued that maybe it was time for a clean slate after weeks of chaos. Still, the idea of losing Chubb felt like betrayal on top of betrayal inside the Browns facility. The atmosphere was radioactive. The interim head coach, special teams coordinator, Mike Prefer, tried to calm the storm, but even he could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down. "We're focused on football," he told reporters, though his eyes said otherwise. Players were distracted, phones constantly buzzing with alerts. Reporters circling like vultures. Nick Chubb, ever the quiet professional, showed up to the facility that morning wearing headphones, hood pulled low, face unreadable. Teammates tried to joke with him, but he wasn't in the mood. As he walked past the locker room entrance, a staffer handed him a folded piece of paper. It was a message from the general manager. "We need to talk." The conversation that followed would later be described by one witness as heartbreaking. Chubb sat across from Andrew Berry in a dimly lit office, the air thick with tension. Berry started carefully. "Nick, you know how much we respect you. You've been the foundation of this team." Chubb nodded, silent. Berry hesitated before continuing. "Kansas City called. They've made an offer, a serious one." Chubb stared at him for a long moment, then asked quietly, "Are you trading me?" Berry sighed. "Nothing's decided yet, but they're offering a deal that could help us rebuild." Chubb leaned back, eyes narrowing. "Rebuild? I thought we were building something already. Now it's like you're tearing it down." Berry didn't respond. The silence spoke volumes. Finally, Chubb stood up, shook his head, and walked out without another word. Within an hour, the entire team knew. Players huddled in groups, whispering. Some were angry, others numb. Shedeur Sanders, now caught in the middle of a collapsing franchise, sat at his locker, scrolling through messages. Fans were tagging him nonstop, begging him to save the team. One message stood out. It was from his father again. "Son, this is your chance. Lead." But how do you lead when the ground is crumbling beneath you? Meanwhile, in Kansas City, excitement was building. Reporters camped outside the Chiefs' facility, waiting for confirmation. Andy Reid, as calm as ever, told the media, "We don't comment on speculation." But his grin betrayed him. Mahomes was reportedly thrilled about the idea of teaming up with Chubb, texting teammates, "This could be legendary." Back in Cleveland, emotions boiled over. A small group of fans gathered outside the team headquarters holding signs that read, "Don't trade Chubb and enough is enough." Local news stations filmed the growing crowd, interviewing angry fans who shouted about loyalty and betrayal. One woman in tears said, "We finally had something real, and they're just throwing it away." Inside the locker room, things got heated. Reports later revealed that a shouting match broke out between two players, one defending the team's decisions, the other calling it a disgrace. Security had to step in to separate them. The place was a powder keg. One assistant coach said, "Everyone was looking for someone to blame." As the team tried to prepare for practice, Shedeur approached Chubb. "I heard about the trade," he said softly. Chubb looked at him, his eyes tired. "Nothing's final yet." Shedeur hesitated before saying, "You're the heart of this team. If you go, it's over." Chubb gave a faint smile. "Maybe it's already over, kid." Then he patted Shedeur on the shoulder and walked away. Later that afternoon, another twist hit the headlines. Stefanski leaks internal emails linking Browns execs to trade talks. Somehow, emails between the Browns front office and Chiefs executives had been leaked to the media, confirming that the trade was indeed being discussed in detail, though Stefanski denied being involved. Sources close to the team claimed he was furious at how his firing was handled and wanted revenge. "He's not done," one insider warned. "He wants them to burn." The Browns tried to do damage control, but it was too late. The media storm was relentless. Talk shows painted the organization as unstable, players as pawns, and Shedeur as the rising star trapped in chaos. One analyst said this is the worst time for a young quarterback to find himself in this kind of mess. He's got the talent, but no structure. And now he's losing the best player on the team. That night, Cleveland sports bars were packed. Everyone was glued to the TV, watching for updates. The tension in the city felt personal, like the whole town was holding its breath. Then, around 11:30 p.m., a breaking news banner flashed across every screen. Sources confirm Nick Chubb traded to Kansas City Chiefs. The crowd gasped. Some people cheered in disbelief. Others shouted in anger. One fan threw a glass at the screen. On social media, the news spread like wildfire. Within minutes, #Chubb2Chiefs was the #1 trending topic in America. Chubb himself released a short statement through his agent. "Cleveland will always be a part of me. Thank you for believing in me. Time for a new chapter." It was calm, respectful, and heartbreaking, but the story didn't end there. Within hours of the announcement, reports surfaced that the trade had angered several Browns veterans who felt blindsided by management. One source said players confronted the general manager, demanding an explanation. "You don't trade a leader like that without telling the team." One player allegedly shouted, "We're supposed to be a family." Shedeur watched all of this unfold with growing frustration. He had tried to stay quiet, tried to be the professional, but something inside him snapped. The next morning, during a team media session, he spoke out. "I came here to win," he said firmly, "but it's hard to win when the people above you don't believe in what we're building. I respect Nick, and I respect Coach Stefanski, but we need to stop pretending everything's fine when it's clearly not." The room went silent. Reporters scrambled to tweet his words. Analysts went live on air, and within minutes, his comments were everywhere. One sports anchor called it the most honest moment we've seen from a player all year. Another said, "He just declared war on the front office." That's exactly how it felt inside the organization. Front office members were furious. One executive reportedly said, "He's young. He'll learn you don't talk about internal issues like that." But others admired his courage. "That kid's a leader," a staffer said. "He said what everyone's thinking." Meanwhile, in Kansas City, Chubb's arrival was met with fanfare. Cameras followed him as he stepped off the plane wearing Chiefs gear for the first time. Reporters shouted questions, but he only smiled and said, "Let's get to work." Mahomes greeted him at the facility and the two hugged. "Welcome to the kingdom," Mahomes said. Back in Cleveland, fans were devastated. The loss of Chubb felt like a gut punch. The city's morale was at rock bottom, and yet, somewhere in the mess, a strange new hope began to flicker. For all the chaos, Cleveland still had Shedeur Sanders, a young quarterback with something to prove and nothing left to lose. That night, sitting alone in his apartment, Shedeur received a call from his father. "How are you holding up, son?" Deion asked. "It's crazy here, Dad," Shedeur replied, his voice low. "Everyone's fighting. They traded Chubb. I don't even know what's next." Deion paused for a moment, then said, "You can't control what's happening around you. You can only control what you do next. The great ones rise when everything falls apart. Now's your moment." Shedeur stared out the window, the lights of the city flickering below. His jaw tightened. "Then it's time to rise." He hung up, stood, and began jotting down plays and ideas in a notebook. Number coaches, no limits, just him, his instincts, and the will to take control of his own destiny. What he didn't know was that the storm wasn't over. In fact, the worst was still to come, because Stefanski wasn't finished, and neither was Cleveland's chaos. The next morning, Cleveland woke up to a headline that stopped the city cold. Former Browns coach Kevin Stefanski accuses team executives of misconduct. The article claimed Stefanski had provided documents showing internal conflicts, secret deals, and what he described as a toxic culture of control. He accused the front office of meddling with player development, manipulating public narratives, and even trying to silence him during his final weeks. The report painted a picture of betrayal from top to bottom. And for fans, it was the final straw. Radio shows lit up instantly. Callers were furious, confused, emotional. One man shouted they drove him out. Now they're burying him. Others said, no, he's bitter, just trying to take everyone down with him. But the damage was done. The Browns were officially the center of the biggest scandal in the NFL inside the facility. Panic set in. Executives scrambled to issue statements. "These claims are false," the team's spokesperson insisted. But no one was listening. The players, meanwhile, were exhausted. They had endured weeks of turmoil, public humiliation, and endless speculation. And now, just when it seemed like things might settle, the storm had come roaring back. Shedeur Sanders sat in the locker room scrolling through the story on his phone. He felt anger boiling in his chest, not just at the chaos around him, but at the way it kept stealing focus from the game itself. Myles Garrett approached him quietly. "You good, man?" Shedeur looked up, eyes heavy. "No, I'm not. This isn't football anymore. It's politics, gossip, and power plays. Nobody's thinking about winning." Garrett nodded. "Then we change that. Someone's got to put football back in this building." Those words stuck with Shedeur. Later that day, as the team gathered for practice, he called everyone together: offense, defense, rookies, veterans. The room fell silent as he stepped forward. "We've lost ourselves," he said firmly. "We're fighting each other instead of fighting for the same thing. I don't care about front office drama. I don't care about media stories. We can't control that. But we can control what happens on that field. I'm done waiting for someone to lead. We do it ourselves." For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, heads began to nod. Garrett clapped him on the shoulder. "Let's play some damn football." From that moment, something shifted. The team practiced with a kind of focus they hadn't shown in weeks. The energy was raw, defiant, fueled by frustration and pride. Even the interim coach could feel it. "I don't know what got into them," he told reporters, but something clicked. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, Nick Chubb's debut was approaching. The city buzzed with anticipation. In interviews, Chubb remained humble, praising Cleveland's fans and thanking the Chiefs for believing in him. "It's a new chapter," he said, "but I'll always carry a piece of Cleveland with me." His words went viral, and even in their heartbreak, Browns fans couldn't help but respect him. But behind the scenes, Stefanski wasn't done making noise. New leaks began to appear: text messages, meeting notes, even snippets of private conversations between executives and players. The allegations painted a dark picture that the Browns' ownership had interfered with Shedeur's play calling, forcing Stefanski to restrict his creativity to protect another quarterback's future. If true, it meant Shedeur had been right all along. He really was being held back. The revelation hit the NFL like an earthquake. Reporters flooded social media with theories, debates, and outrage. "This changes everything," one analyst said. "If ownership really sabotaged their own rookie, that's one of the most disgraceful things we've ever seen." Shedeur didn't deny it. When asked for comment, he simply said, "I just want the truth out. People need to understand what's been happening here." His calm tone only made the story more powerful. Fans across the country rallied behind him. Hashtags like #LetShedeur play and #Justice for Shedeur trended for days. Suddenly, the young quarterback wasn't just a player. He was a symbol of resilience against corruption. But not everyone was on his side. Some in the organization viewed him as a threat, someone who had grown too influential too fast. Rumors began circulating that the front office was considering trading him in the offseason, hoping to start fresh again. When word of that reached Shedeur's camp, it felt like a knife twist. After everything he'd endured, they were still trying to push him out. One night, unable to sleep, he called his father again. "They're talking about trading me," he said quietly. Deion's voice was calm but firm. "Then make it impossible for them to let you go. Show them who you are. Show the world." That weekend, Cleveland faced Kansas City in one of the most anticipated games of the year. It wasn't just another matchup, it was a reckoning. Stefanski was gone, Chubb was wearing red, and Shedeur was stepping onto the field with something to prove. The stadium was packed, the air thick with emotion. Fans booed, cheered, and held signs that read, "Believe in Shedeur." The game started rough. Kansas City's offense, led by Mahomes and fueled by Chubb's power runs, jumped to an early lead. Cleveland looked sluggish, nervous, unsure. But midway through the second quarter, something changed. After a broken play, Shedeur scrambled left, dodged two defenders, and launched a perfect 40-yard strike to his receiver in the end zone. The stadium exploded. The momentum shifted instantly. Shedeur played with fire, commanding the field like a veteran. Each throw was sharper, each decision bolder. It was as if all the frustration, doubt, and betrayal had transformed into pure focus. On the sidelines, even the interim coach stood back, letting him lead by the fourth quarter. The score was tied. With under 2 minutes left, Cleveland had the ball. Shedeur took the snap, scanned the field, and saw a gap. Instead of sticking to the conservative play call, he improvised rolling right, pump faking a defender, then diving toward the end zone himself. Touchdown. The crowd went wild. Cameras caught fans crying, hugging, screaming his name. Even some of the players who had been skeptical now embraced him on the sideline. Cleveland won 31-27. It wasn't just a victory, it was redemption. After the game, reporters swarmed him. "How did it feel?" one asked breathlessly. Shedeur smiled, sweat dripping down his face. It felt like freedom. Meanwhile, in the opposing locker room, Nick Chubb congratulated his former teammates. "They earned it," he said softly. Mahomes patted him on the back. "You'll get them next time," he said. But Chubb only nodded. Somewhere deep down, a part of him still belonged to Cleveland. As the dust settled, the NFL world couldn't stop talking. Sports shows replayed the game for days, calling it the redemption of Cleveland. Fans hailed Shedeur as the future of the franchise, the player who had reignited their faith. Stefanski's accusations faded into background noise, replaced by highlight reels of Shedeur's heroics. But behind the smiles and celebrations, the cracks remained. The front office was still fractured. Questions about ownership interference still lingered. And as the season continued, the whispers returned about trades, revenge, and unfinished business stood still. For one night, Cleveland felt alive again. The city that had been drowning in scandal finally had something to believe in. Shedeur Sanders stood at midfield after everyone else had left, the stadium lights dimming around him. He looked up at the stands, empty now but echoing with the ghosts of cheers. He whispered to himself, "They tried to hold me back. Not anymore." He turned, walked toward the tunnel, and disappeared into the shadows, ready for whatever storm would come next. And that, right there, is where the story leaves us. A city reborn through chaos. A coach cast out in flames. A superstar running back now wearing red and gold. And a young quarterback who refused to be silenced. But the question on every fan's mind tonight, is this the new era of Cleveland football? Or just the calm before another storm? Because even with Stefanski gone and Chubb in Kansas City, the tension isn't over. Insiders are still whispering that front office changes are coming. Rumors of secret meetings, potential trades, and even bigger power shifts continue to swirl. And let's be honest, in the NFL, nothing stays quiet for long. Could Shedeur's rise mark the rebirth of a dynasty? Or will the very system that tried to hold him back come for him again? One thing's certain. The drama in Cleveland isn't finished. It's only getting started. It's only getting started. So what do you think? Did the Browns make the right call firing Stefanski? Or was he the scapegoat in a bigger mess? Will Nick Chubb dominate with Mahomes in Kansas City? Or will Cleveland regret letting him go? And is Shedeur Sanders really the one to lead this franchise back to glory? Or just the latest name caught in the Browns' endless cycle of chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. I want to know what you believe really happened behind those closed doors. Don't forget to hit that like button if you were shocked by today's story. Subscribe for more NFL drama breakdowns. And turn on notifications so you never miss the next twist in this wild saga. Because if there's one thing we've learned from Cleveland this season, it's that in the NFL, the truth is never simple. The heroes are never safe. And the story is never really over. Stay tuned because the next chapter could drop any moment.